Hey there, and welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, where it's all about learning how to attract, engage, and retain your clients with digital marketing. My name is Brandon Brashears, and I'm coming to you from Northern Idaho. Welcome to the podcast. In this week's episode, we have a great guest. We have Abby Herman, who is the content marketing, email marketing extraordinaire. Abby is not specific to the veterinary industry. I've encountered her working with her on some client work, and I just really love the stuff that she's doing. She's got a podcast. We'll talk about that a little bit. But Abby is a great resource, and I think that you as the audience is going to love the content that she puts out there. She talks about email marketing in today's episode, and it's really solid. So before we begin, I want to mention a few things. First, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. Also, be sure to head on over to the Veterinary Marketing Nerds Facebook group. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or you need help with anything. I'm always happy to help over there at the Veterinary Marketing Nerds Facebook group. So let's jump into today's episode. Today we have Abby Herman. Abby's website is The Content Experiment, and Abby has a ton of experience and a lot of skills in doing content marketing. Now, the thing that I like about Abby is the way that she approaches content marketing and email marketing, and we get into that in today's episode. But I think it's going to really resonate with a lot of veterinary practices because so many veterinary hospitals do not like actively selling. They don't feel like they're selling to their clients. And so the way that we talk about content marketing, specifically email marketing, I think there's a lot of really good takeaways. Abby also has a special offer. If you're interested, she's got some great resources for you. So be sure to listen all the way through. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Abby. And without further ado, here is Abby Herman from The Content Experiment. All right. So this week on the podcast, we have Abby Herman. Abby, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I'm really excited to have you here.
Thanks for the invitation. I'm excited to be here too.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Me and you have worked on some marketing projects together, and I thought you are awesome at what you do, and I wanted to have you share your knowledge with the audience. I think that they would love what you're about. So tell us how you got started with marketing in general and kind of your origin story.
Yeah. So I started doing online copywriting back in 2007. I was a full-time teacher. I was an elementary school teacher and just trying to make ends meet. And so I started doing some freelance writing in 2007. Eventually in 2013, I left teaching to grow my business full-time. And like I said, I started out doing I call it on-demand content creation and content writing. Basically, clients would ask for a series of blog posts or some emails or an email sequence, and I would say, okay, and I would create it for them, or create the website copy or whatever it was. And I started to figure out that it wasn't really serving my clients to do that, to just say yes to every project. It wasn't helpful because, my clients were experts in what they do. And I was an expert in the content and the marketing piece. And it was my responsibility to support them in that way and kind of help them strategize around what they were actually creating to make sure that it was what their audience needs and wants. And so I shifted my business in 2016, 2017, I shifted to a more of a strategy model. So I still do the content creation. I have a team that helps with that now as well. But right now I help clients with developing the strategy around what they're going to put out there for their audience to market their business. And then some clients just take that information and they do the content creation and implementation on their own. And for some clients, I actually do, my team and I, it's not just me, I can't possibly do it all. We do a lot of the implementation, content creation and implementation as well. So it's been a long journey and I really love where I am right now.
That's really cool. That makes sense. You totally seem like a teacher. And so that makes a lot of sense.
Hopefully you meant that as a compliment.
I always liked my elementary school teachers. Were you elementary or what grade were you in?
I taught primarily third grade, but I also taught second. And I was a school librarian for 3 years until budget cuts put me back in the classroom. And then I taught seventh grade language arts as well.
Well, that makes sense. That seems fitting. I always loved my elementary school teachers. They're awesome. So very cool. Well, so let's talk about, giving your clients what you want. And I know we're going to be talking about email a lot here because I think it's probably one of the biggest missed opportunities in veterinary medicine marketing. Probably most practices have databases full of clients and client details and client contact and things. But when you're thinking about email marketing and, you're talking about trying to figure out what the clients want, I think that probably for, local business like a veterinary practice, they have so much more client interaction, face to face or on the phone. So they get these common questions, or they get, they generally know what their clients are wondering about or what is going on. Do you think that surveys are the best place to start when it comes to, content and email marketing, or do you think that they would probably have a good enough idea and based on like interactions? What's your opinion on that?
Well, so I think you can definitely do it two ways. I like the online survey, sending an email with a link to a survey, because it allows, thinking about specifically pet owners. They have the time to sit down when it lands in their inbox. They've got time to sit down and really think about their answers. So some of the things I like to ask in a survey is, where do people like to consume information, specifically relating to pets and pet care and all of that for your audience? But where do they like to consume information? Do they like to listen to podcasts? Do they read blog posts? Are they searching on Google? Is there some other place that pet owners go to for information? It could be a specific website or a tool or an app or whatever. Are there people that they're following online to help with pet care? So things like that. And then also, I think it's really important to understand exactly what people's challenges are around their pets. So I'm a pet owner. I have 2 dogs and a cat. A huge challenge that I have, especially living in Phoenix, we're recording this at the end of April and it's getting warm out, which means my Shepherd mix and my Pomeranian Husky mix are shedding like mad. Like, how do I get that to stop? What can I do? So you need to understand, what does your animal, what are your challenges around caring for your animal? Maybe they have stomach issues, or they, have suddenly turned up their nose at their food, or, what is it that your people are challenged with? And, when you put that in an online survey where somebody's sitting down and filling it out online, they have the time to really think about those challenges. You can also do it in the office, in a way that, like, maybe you have in your CRM, you have a place for your team members to input questions that the pet owner had. Maybe there is a place that you kind of drop all of the questions for the day in one place. And that helps you to build a library of content ideas, so that when you, as the owner or as the vet, as the practice operator, sit down to create content to market your business, you have ideas. You're not sitting there staring at a blank screen, wondering, what in the world am I supposed to create content around? I don't know. Like, what am I supposed to email? What should I be putting on social media? You have that information right in front of you. The challenge that you have when you are doing it, when you're surveying your audience or gathering content ideas in person, is that when people are bringing their animals to the vet, it's for one of 2 reasons. It's for your annual exam, in which case you probably can gather some information from the owner. And the other reason why, in my eyes, somebody would take their animal to the vet is because there's a medical emergency and they need support right away. And that's, an emotional visit where it's probably not the best time to be asking the pet mom or dad questions about, what information they need or what, where are they challenged in their pet ownership journey, all of that.
For sure.
So there's a couple of different ways
do you
to
watch
do that.
TikTok online, by the way, while your dog is having a serious issue? Exactly.
Yeah, no.
Totally. Okay. So I think that's really a solid plan. Do you build those surveys in as a automatic system so that it will go out and periodically update, or do you think it's a one-time type thing?
No, it's definitely not a one-time thing. It's something that you should do on a regular basis. I would recommend doing it maybe seasonally. So maybe, at the beginning of the summer and at the beginning of the winter or something like that. Because I think that, pet owners, depending on where you're located, you have different concerns at different times of the year. So I mentioned, so I'm in Phoenix, and this time of year, we are, if we're taking our dogs out to the trails to hike or whatever, we have rattlesnakes that we need to be aware of. And so how do I protect my dog from a rattlesnake bite? How do I keep my dog from wanting to chase a rattlesnake or a javelina? Because that's happened to me before, where my dog has seen a javelina and thought it would be really cool to go play with it. And that's not okay. Thankfully, she was okay, and we got her back before she got close. But in the winter, in the northern parts of the country, you've got cold to contend with. So how do you manage, pet ownership when it's really cold out? So think about it in different times of the year. It could be something that you have automatically set to go out. You could have an automated email that goes out, or I like to do it in, when I see some of the content idea banks start to run kind of low, then maybe that's a good time to send another survey out to gather more ideas. I mean, because the reality is you will be bringing on new patients all of the time, and you'll be losing patients as well. So you kind of have a regular influx of new patients and new owners that you'll be talking to.
Definitely. That definitely makes sense. So figuring out what people want and what people need is obviously a super smart way to generate content, which kind of, I think, segues into the next piece, which is email. So email is something that everybody knows that they should be doing. I mean, it's not anything new. I found out actually that the email is older than faxes. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Email was invented before the fax machine,
I had no
which
idea.
is wild. So it's been around forever, but almost nobody uses it. And I think it's just, there's a few things around it. The things that I hear all the time is, well, I don't want to sell too much. I don't want to be bugging them. I don't want to email them too much. And they think that somebody's going to notice that their hospital sent them an email. I think even once a week, it would be probably most people wouldn't notice it. But how much do you think people should be emailing their database and their client list? So I know this is specific to veterinarians. So let's say you want your clients coming in probably 2 times a year would be great. Hopefully more than that if they have other issues like skin issues or, but let's say that they're shooting for at least 2 preventative visits a year. Mm-hmm. How much do you think that a practice should be emailing their
I mentioned before we started recording that I don't think that the vet that I take my animals to, I don't think I've ever received an email from them. And since I said that, before we started recording, I've been thinking, you know what, maybe I have, but I just haven't noticed it because it's been buried with some of the other emails, and because it's so infrequent that it's possible that I have gotten an email from them notifying me that one of my animals was due for vaccinations. So I think, and because that's where my mind is going with this, Sending an email once or twice a year, letting your dog moms and dads know that the animals need to come in for shots is not enough, because it doesn't keep you top of mind. So I would say for a vet clinic, I would email maybe twice a month. Some of the other businesses that I work with, some of my other clients, I recommend once a week, it depends on your practice. But I would say twice a month with really timely and value added emails. It's not about selling. It's not about, the latest, the coolest tool or dog food or treat or supplement for your dogs or your cats. It's not about that. It's about adding value. There are so many challenges that you likely see brought into your practice on a daily basis that you probably think, oh my gosh, I can't believe that this person didn't know this. I can't believe that I've had to answer this question 8 times this week. I know that there are things like that. So write up something and put it in an email to your patients. Put it in an email and get it out there to help educate your audience. You're in, my uncle is a veterinarian, and I know that it's a passionate career. You get into it because of your love for animals. So teach people how to be better pet owners by educating them. And then, at the same time, you're helping the animals live a better life because you've educated their owners. So that's a really long answer to your question about how often should you be emailing. I would say at least twice a month, like set up something for every other week, and find ways to educate your audience. When you educate them and when you land in their inbox on a regular basis, you'll be more top of mind. They will be more likely to schedule those annual or semi-annual exams on time so that you don't have to chase them, or you don't have to have the emergency, oh my gosh, I need to board my dogs and we're behind on vaccinations kind of appointments that I'm sure are very frustrating for vet clinics.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So when you say, we're not using these to sell, but provide value, I think that's awesome. Do you suggest putting calls to action inside of emails that would be more of a sales or how do you approach that in your opinion?
Yeah,
I'll give you some examples really quick here. So I have had people say hey, Brandon, I'm going to send out emails. I'm really excited. And then they'll talk about a flea and tick treatment because it's getting to be springtime. People are going out, and then they won't put any phone number or email or website or anything. It's just these are the problems. It was educational, but then there was no call to action. And so I was wondering, what do you think about that?
Yeah, you absolutely need to tell them what to do, because you need to tell them what to do because otherwise they're not going to know what is expected of me. And at the same time, if you give them too many calls to action, then it's decision fatigue and they're not going to do anything. So first, in whatever email system that you are using, so you will want to have a template with a footer that has maybe your team photo or a photo of, if you're a solo vet, like your photo and your name, the business name, phone number, where to follow you on social media, your address, all of that should be in the email automatically as a template so that you never have to think about it again. And then in the email itself, so if you're telling people about best flea and tick treatments, maybe you have an affiliate link of some sort. And so you can link to, and maybe it's an over-the-counter treatment that you can buy online through a website, and you have affiliate links. Include those links inside the email, include the affiliate links. And also, if it's not something that you have an affiliate link for, or that people have to bring their pets in for the treatment, then include a link to, if you have an online scheduler, include a link to that. If you have, if you want them to actually call and schedule an appointment, make sure that you tell them to do that. And doing that, having a link to your calendar or a phone number and telling people, call us for your appointment, is not being salesy. It's being helpful, because I am less likely to schedule an appointment if I have to go Google or look up on my phone the phone number versus just picking up my phone and reading or clicking on my email and clicking and calling straight from that. So it's being helpful. It's not being salesy. Being salesy is when every single email is literally a link to sell something, or to tell people to do this treatment or that treatment with their dog or their cat. So it's about being helpful and being, just save your audience some steps, save subscribers, save your patients some steps by just giving them the information, give them the links, give them the phone number, make sure that it's right there in every single email.
Definitely makes sense. And so when you're talking about building out these emails, again, this decision fatigue, I think too, one thing that I see all the time, if I ever see any emails that people send out, is it's like a newsletter in a form that's just kind of jam packed with everything. And maybe they send it out once a month or once a quarter, if that. And so I think they're trying to do too much. How much do you think a good email should do, as far as like, should you be sending out more topical emails, or should you be sending out more like update kind of emails, which would be kind of way more comprehensive? Like there's multiple sections and
Well, when you're emailing your audience on a regular basis, you don't have to have those big, comprehensive update emails, because you're including it on, in every email. So going back to your example of the flea and tick treatments. So maybe that's like the feature of your email. So you have, a couple of paragraphs about flea and tick treatments, the benefits of them, maybe some precautions that you should take relating to them. And then maybe underneath that, you have some sort of featured pet, and you have a fun picture with a featured pet. And then maybe you have by the way, we're going to be doing this shot clinic this week, and have the dates on that. And so so you have a couple of like smaller tidbits and one feature idea that you are sending out based on what's most timely. And again, when you're emailing your list on a regular basis, you can have those features that are really timely and really valuable for right now. I would also recommend, relating to that, and this is kind of like an operations side of things, if you're going to do that, if you're going to send out an email about flea and tick treatment, make sure that you have planned for that with some additional appointment times. Make sure that you have the treatment in stock that you're trying to sell, because there's nothing more frustrating than like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. And you call and you're booked out, or you don't have the treatment in stock, and you won't because so many people have signed up. So plan ahead, and it's never going to be a perfect system. You'll kind of figure it out as you go, but just know what you're promoting and be ready for people to grab it and to buy it.
That definitely makes sense. Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because I know a lot of practices right now are actually booked out for weeks. Mm-hmm. And so they're probably feeling like, well, I can't actually handle any more clients right now because we're booked out 2 to 3 weeks. It's very interesting. I was wondering what was going to happen when COVID hit. And for the most part, it's just been insane levels of work for veterinary hospitals. And so they've been booked out. Some are booked out for months, and there's, it's really, really interesting. So, with that, I don't think that they should just like completely drop communication and that top of mind, especially if you're not staying in touch with people and you are having longer wait times to get people in. They might go look elsewhere and try to find a new practice. And I know there's a lot of startup practices jumping in And that's one thing that we do with ads is targeting people that are looking for same day appointments. So if they're super busy, do you think that they should still be sending out emails? And if so, what kind of changes do you think that makes for them?
Yeah, absolutely. Your audience, your pet owners don't stop needing information just because you're busy in your practice. They still need to be educated. And maybe you can mitigate some of those appointments by educating people ahead of time. Like they talk about, when you think about preventative medicine versus urgent care, it's a lot less expensive for the preventative medicine. It's a lot, you go to the doctor less often. So, and you're healthier overall if you're preventing issues from happening. So give them the education that they need to prevent things from happening to their animals. You're still going to be busy, and you are going to be their go-to for anything pet related, anything pet health related. I can speak from personal experience in my own business that the roller coaster that happens in business where you market yourself, you need clients. So you market, and you put yourself out there, and then all of this traffic comes in and you get all these clients. And so you stop marketing. I've totally done that. You stop because you don't have time. And then, the sales dry up, the clients, you're not getting as many clients. So then, you kind of ramp it back up again and market. And it's this roller coaster. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with just the idea of marketing your business because you don't have time because you're already full, then I would recommend finding someone who you can hire. Maybe it's just, maybe it's a college student or an admin in your practice who you can hire for a couple hours a week to help, market the business and put things out there, because the last thing you want is to be on a roller coaster, because I think life and business is roller coaster enough. That let's keep the clients coming in, let's keep educating them and help them really learn how to prevent, these emergency procedures by educating them ahead of time.
Definitely makes sense. So I guess maybe one of the last questions that I have for you is when do you think it would make sense for a practice to hire somebody to do their emails? People ask me that a lot when it comes to ads, and they'll say, when should we hire somebody to run ads for us versus running them ourselves? And I know that there's a huge learning curve with ads. I would assume that most people think, well, I can write an email. I send emails all the time. Mm-hmm. And so, but there's a big difference between, writing an email and then doing email marketing.
Yes.
So with that, when do you think is a good time to maybe consider hiring somebody to do that for them? I would say that probably the first thing would be if they're not actually sending out emails because they're too busy, just saying, oh, I'll get to it, probably won't change it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's probably number one, but what else do you think?
So I think that the thing that holds people back the most from sending emails is just not knowing what in the world to include in the email, what they should say. And so I think that prevents people from actually doing it because they're not sure. They're not sure what to say. They want it to be perfect. And so I think hiring somebody to help figure out what to include in the email might be the first step. And that might help you to actually sit down and write the email. So I think that's the first step. And then, piggybacking on what you said, if you're so busy in your practice that you're just not sending out anything at all, then absolutely. That would be the time to hire someone to write emails for you. The right time to hire somebody for ads is the moment you figure out you want to use ads, because you're right that ads are like their own beast and require so much expertise. If you're feeling challenged with the technology behind email, with the idea of what you should include out there, then I would definitely look to hiring somebody to help.
That definitely makes sense. And I think there is definitely a huge level of expertise, though, that is required for setting up emails properly. And something that you mentioned before we started, too, was setting this up as a system for your business that handles, if you're getting tons of calls every day about, especially if you're in Arizona and all of a sudden people start asking about rattlesnakes because it's April now, and you start getting calls, that's actually a real cost for you in your business. And especially if you have reception staff that are handling questions, and it's always good to get calls from potential clients, but if it's a question that can just be answered, then your marketing becomes a system that not only generates clients, but also handles, these questions that pop up and take up time, which is actual cost to your practice. So
yes,
I think that's really a solid point for people to think about.
The benefit is you've got healthier pets that live better lives. And that's probably the goal of any vet, is to help the pets. And by educating your audience, by educating their owners, you're doing exactly that.
Exactly. And not only that, but the kind of clients that you want to work with are the clients that want to keep their pets healthy, because there's clients that take recommendations and the ones who don't. My guess would be that the people who take recommendations are going to open those emails about how to make their pets healthier, which will just provide better client level too, which is less headaches in practice. So tons of benefits additionally. So you also have an awesome podcast, and I listened to the one that you did a summit that was really cool. Lots of cool ideas and things. Where can people go out and find about you?
So thank you. I have a podcast, The Content Experiment, and it talks is all centered all around experimenting with different types of content to help market your business online. And you can find me on any of your favorite podcast apps at The Content Experiment. And then I also have a free resource to help you figure out how to survey your audience. I give you step-by-step instructions on how to do it, as well as some templates on how to do it online. And you can find that at thecontentexperiment.com/vet.
Perfect. That's really cool. Go out and get that for sure. Well, thank you so much for your time, Abby. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Again, if you want any of the resources or to find Abby, be sure to head on over to theveterinarymarketingpodcast.com and check out the show notes of today's show. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you enjoy this content, please be sure to share it with people who you think would find value in it as well. I appreciate you for listening. Have a fantastic day.